Schacht. Schacht is indicted under counts 1 and 2 of the indictment. Schacht served as Commissioner of Currency and President of the Reichsbank from 1923 to 1930. Was reappointed President of the Bank in March 17, 1933, Minister of Economics in August 1934, and Plenipotentiary General for War Economy in May of 1935. He resigned from these two positions in November 1937 and was appointed Minister without portfolio. He was reappointed as President of the Reichsbank for a one-year term on March 16, 1937, and for a four-year term on March 9, 1938, but was dismissed on January 20, 1939. He was dismissed as Minister without portfolio on January 22, 1943. Crimes against peace. Schacht was an active supporter of the Nazi Party before its accession to power on January 30, 1933, and supported the appointment of Hitler to the post of Chancellor. After that date, he played an important role in the vigorous rearmament program which was adopted, using the facilities of the Reichsbank to the fullest extent in the German rearmament effort. The Reichsbank, in its traditional capacity as financial agent for the German government, floated long-term government loans, the proceeds of which were used for rearmament. He devised a system under which five-year notes, known as MIFO bills, guaranteed by the Reichsbank and backed in effect by nothing more than its position as a bank of issue, were used to obtain large sums for rearmament from the short-term money market. As Minister of Economics and as Plenipotentiary General for the War Economy, he was active in organizing the German economy for war. He made detailed plans for industrial mobilization and the coordination of the army with industry in the event of war. He was particularly concerned with shortages of raw materials and started a scheme of stockpiling and a system of exchange control designed to prevent Germany's weak foreign exchange position from hindering the acquisition abroad of raw materials needed for rearmament. On May 3, 1935, he sent a memorandum to Hitler stating that the accomplishment of the armament program with speed and in quantity is the problem of German politics, that everything else, therefore, should be subordinated to this purpose. Schacht, by April 1936, began to lose his influence as a central figure in the German rearmament effort when Goering was appointed coordinator for raw materials and foreign exchange. Goering advocated a greatly expanded program for the production of synthetic raw materials, which was opposed by Schacht on the ground that the resulting financial strain might involve inflation. The influence of Schacht suffered further when on October 16, 1936, Goering was appointed plenipotentiary for the four-year plan with the task of putting the entire economy in a state of readiness for war within 4 years. Schacht had opposed the announcement of this plan and the appointment of Goering to head it, and it is clear that Hitler's action represented a decision that Schacht's economic policies were too conservative for the drastic rearmament policy which Hitler wanted to put into effect. After Goering's appointment, Schacht and Goering promptly became embroiled in a series of disputes. Although there was an element of personal controversy running through these disputes, Schacht disagreed with Goering on certain basic policy issues. Schacht, on financial grounds, advocated a retrenchment in the rearmament program, opposed as uneconomical much of the proposed expansion of production facilities, particularly for synthetics, urged a drastic tightening on government credit and a cautious policy in dealing with Germany's foreign exchange reserves. As a result of this dispute and of a bitter argument in which Hitler accused Schacht of upsetting his plans by his financial methods, Schacht went on leave of absence from the Ministry of Economics on September 5, 1937, and resigned as Minister of Economics and as Plenipotentiary General for War Economy on November 16, 1937. As President of the Reichsbank, Schacht was still involved in disputes. Throughout 1938, the Reichsbank continued to function as the financial agent for the German government in floating long-term loans to finance armaments. But on March 31st, 1938, Schacht discontinued the practice of floating short-term notes guaranteed by the Reichsbank for armament expenditures. At the end of 1938, in an attempt to regain control of financial policy through the Reichsbank, Schacht refused an urgent request of the Reichsminister of Finance for a special credit to pay the salaries of civil servants which were not covered by existing funds. January 2nd, 1939, Schacht held a conference with Hitler, at which he urged him to reduce expenditures for armaments. On January 7, 1939, Schacht submitted to Hitler a report signed by the directors of the Reichsbank, which urged a drastic curtailment of armament expenditures and a balanced budget as the only method of preventing inflation. On January 19th, Hitler dismissed Schacht as president of the Reichsbank. On January 22nd, 1943, Hitler dismissed Schacht as Reichsminister without portfolio because of his, I quote, whole attitude during the present fateful fight of the German nation. On July 23rd, 1944, Schacht was arrested by the Gestapo and confined in a concentration camp until the end of the war. It is clear that Schacht was a central figure in Germany's rearmament program, and the steps which he took, particularly in the early days of the Nazi regime, were responsible for Nazi Germany's rapid rise as a military power. But rearmament of itself is not criminal under the Charter. To be a crime against peace under Article 6 of the Charter, it must be shown that Schacht carried out this rearmament as part of the Nazi plans to wage aggressive wars. Schacht has contended that he participated in the rearmament program only because he wanted to build a strong and independent Germany which would carry out a foreign policy which would command respect on an equal basis with other European countries. That when he discovered that the Nazis were rearming for aggressive purposes, he attempted to slow down the speed of armament. And that after the dismissal of von Fritsch and von Blomberg, he participated in plans to get rid of Hitler, first by deposing him and later by assassination. And Schacht, as early as 1936, began to advocate a limitation of the rearmament program for financial reasons. Had the policies advocated by him been put into effect, Germany would not have been prepared for a general European war. Insistence on his policies led to his eventual dismissal from all positions of economic significance in Germany. On the other hand, Schacht, with his intimate knowledge of German finance, was in a peculiarly good position to understand the true significance of Hitler's frantic rearmament and to realize that the economic policy adopted was consistent only with war as its object. Moreover, Schacht continued to participate in German economic life and even in a minor way in some of the early Nazi aggressions. Prior to the occupation of Austria, he set a rate of exchange between the mark and the shilling. After the occupation of Austria, he arranged for the incorporation of the Austrian National Bank into the Reichsbank and made a violently pro-Nazi speech in which he stated that the Reichsbank would always be Nazi as long as he was connected with it. Praised Hitler, defended the occupation of Austria, scoffed at the objections to the way it was carried out, and ended with, "To our Führer, a triple Sieg Heil." He has not contended that this speech did not represent his state of mind at the time. After the occupation of the Sudetenland, he arranged for currency conversion and for the incorporation into the Reichsbank of local Czech banks of issue. On November 29, 1938, he made a speech in which he pointed with pride to his economic policy, which had created a high degree of German armament, to participation in the common plan charged in Count 1. He was clearly not one of the inner circle around Hitler, which was most closely involved with this common plan. He was regarded by this group with undisguised hostility. The testimony of Speer shows that Schacht's arrest on July 23, 1944, was based as much on Hitler's enmity towards Schacht, growing out of his attitude before the war, as it was on suspicion of his complicity in the bomb plot. The case against Schacht, therefore, depends on the inference that Schacht did in fact know of the Nazi aggressive plans. On this all-important question, evidence has been given for the prosecution and a considerable volume of evidence for the defense. The tribunal has considered the whole of this evidence with great care and comes to the conclusion that this necessary inference has not been established beyond a reasonable doubt. Conclusion. The tribunal finds that Schacht is not guilty on this indictment and directs that he shall be discharged by the marshal when the tribunal presently adjourns.